We have all experienced it. You put your phone down to get some sleep, you close your eyes, and then your mind starts thinking. The scrolling does not actually stop. Your mind has just turned it inward and starts infinite scrolling through your own thoughts. One thought appears, then another, then another. You start dissecting a conversation from 8 years ago, then your mind jumps to something you forgot today, and then suddenly it's worrying about something that might happen next week. You can feel it in your body, the restless buzzing inside your head, the heavy, tight sensation in your chest, and if you're like me, then you get the bonus feeling of your legs wanting to run a marathon when you are trying to lay still. Your mind keeps moving and resolves nothing. That is what overthinking actually is. It is mental, infinite scrolling with no end. If that sounds familiar, the important thing to understand is this: your brain is not broken. It is simply following a pattern it has learned. And just like you can break a habit of scrolling on your phone, you can break the habit of scrolling in your mind. In this video, I'm going to show you the simple skill that interrupts that loop and begins retraining your brain. Let's start with why trying to stop thoughts does not work. Most people try to deal with overthinking by trying to stop their thoughts or get angry at them and demand they stop. They try to push them away or force their mind to be quiet. They grit their teeth and try to will the silence into existence. But the brain does not respond well to suppression. If I ask you not to think about a red apple, your brain immediately has to picture a red apple in order to avoid it. The brain cannot suppress thoughts without activating them first. And there is actual brain imaging to prove this. Researchers at the University of New South Wales in Australia conducted a study where they asked people specifically not to think of a red apple. Even when the participants thought they had successfully pushed the image away, their brain scans showed the visual centers of their brain were still active. A sensory trace of that apple was still there. Think of it like writing on a chalkboard. Even when you erase the word, there's still a ghost of the chalk dust left on the board. Your brain is essentially holding onto the dust of the very thing you were trying to delete, just to make sure you weren't thinking about it. And that means every attempt to push a thought away actually strengthens the mental loop you are trying to escape. It's like trying to put out a fire by throwing more wood on it. This is why overthinking often feels like trying to escape quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. The problem is not your willpower, the problem is the strategy. Your brain is not designed to stop thinking. Let me say that again, because that's actually pretty important. Your brain is not designed to stop thinking. It is designed to direct attention, and that difference actually makes ending overthinking possible. If you imagine your thoughts like a car and your attention is the fuel, your thoughts run on attention. Attention is the fuel that keeps ruminating running. If attention stays on the same thought long enough, the brain strengthens the pathway associated with that thought. The brain begins to treat it as important, so it returns to it more frequently. And over time, the ruminating becomes automatic. But if the fuel moves somewhere else, the ruminating eventually stalls. It doesn't happen instantly, it is more like a gradual decline in constant thinking, because the brain learns from repetition. Which means the best question to ask yourself is not, how do I stop thinking? It is, where is my attention going? The skill that interrupts overthinking is not suppressing thoughts. It is guiding your attention. Instead of trying to remove the thoughts, you gently guide your attention towards something else. Psychologists often refer to it as directed attention. Directed attention simply means choosing where your focus goes instead of letting it wander automatically. This idea is not new. Decades ago, anxiety specialist Claire Weeks taught something very similar in her work with people experiencing anxiety and panic. Her advice was not to fight the thoughts or sensations, but to face them, accept them, float past them, and allow time for the nervous system to settle. What she noticed is that the moment we start wrestling with our thoughts, we accidentally feed the ruminating loop. The brain interprets that struggle as proof that the thought is important, so it keeps returning to it. Weeks encouraged people to stop wrestling with the thought entirely. Instead of trying to push it away, you let it be there for a moment. You acknowledge it without analyzing it. And then you gently let your attention settle somewhere simple in the present moment. It might be the sensation of your feet touching the ground as you walk. It might be the feeling of water on your hands while you wash the dishes. It might be the rhythm of your breathing. You are not forcing the thought to disappear. You are simply removing the fuel that keeps the thought loop running. Your brain is actually very good at focusing when it has a clear target. What it struggles with is uncertainty and not knowing. When there is no clear direction, the brain defaults to scanning for problems. It is constantly looking for something broken in your life to repair. And that scanning process frequently, when left on its own, turns to overthinking. So the goal is not silence. The goal is gentle direction. You allow the thought to exist without fighting it, and then you let your attention settle somewhere simple and real in the present moment. Over time, that shift begins to retrain the pattern of your mind. It takes time. You are essentially teaching your brain how to walk when it has only ever run. Think about how social media feeds are designed. They never end. There is always another post, another video, another notification. Your mind can kind of work the same. One thought leads to another, and the brain keeps refreshing the feed. It is looking for new information, for a better answer, or for closure, but the closure rarely comes, so the mind keeps scrolling. And that is why overthinking often feels physically exhausting. Your brain is constantly running without ever reaching a conclusion. You actually finish the day feeling like you've run a marathon, even if you've been sitting still. The important thing to notice here is that nothing new needs to be installed in your brain. You do not need more information or another course. The same system that creates overthinking is the same system that creates focus. When you redirect attention, you interrupt the scroll. This does not mean your thoughts disappear. Thoughts will still appear. That is normal. We are human. They are meant to. But instead of following every thought that shows up and down the rabbit hole, you guide your attention somewhere intentional. This might be the physical sensation of your breath in your belly. It might be the weight of your feet on the ground. It might be the specific texture of the food you are eating. It could be your hands on the steering wheel while you are driving. What matters is that attention moves from wandering aimlessly to directed. When attention is redirected, the loop loses fuel. Something really interesting starts to happen when you begin to practice this. You realize the problem was never that you think too much. The real problem is that your attention had nowhere useful to go. Speaking from experience, this is really hard when you have a brain that is used to the high-speed hit of the internal scroll. Slowing that movement down can feel impossible and uncomfortable, but that discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. And it took me a long time to reprogram myself to believe that discomfort does not mean danger. It is simply your brain adjusting to a different pattern. And just like any habit, attention changes through repetition. The brain learns whatever we practice. We have simply been practicing letting it think whatever it wants. Now let's talk about rebuilding the muscle of focus. When you repeatedly guide your attention somewhere intentional, the brain begins to rebuild its ability to focus. Through this process, these are the changes I started noticing. My mind became slightly calmer and the noise was not so loud. Finishing tasks has become way easier, and even starting those tasks has become possible. The tension that I had in my jaw and that fuzziness in my head has cleared. And showing up to life, that has been the biggest change that I have seen. Through this process, you begin to go longer stretches without collapsing into exhaustion. These changes are subtle at first. They are designed to compound over time because the brain adapts to whatever receives consistent attention. You are literally carving a new path through your mind. So let's talk about the long game. The goal is not to eliminate thinking. Thinking is a natural function of the mind and you cannot eliminate it entirely. The goal is to guide attention when it is thinking. Remember, your brain is not broken. It is simply trained in a specific way that isn't working for you anymore. And the same system that created the overthinking can learn a different pattern. Once you understand how attention works, the noise inside your mind begins to make way more sense. Overthinking is not a flaw in your personality. It is a pattern of attention that has been practiced repeatedly. And whatever we practice, we become better at. If attention repeatedly returns to worry, the brain strengthens worry. If attention repeatedly returns to directed focus, the brain strengthens focus. Your brain adapts to whatever you train it to do, and you excel at overthinking. If there was an A+ being handed out in a class of overthinkers, you and I, we would get it. To understand why your brain scans for problems and how that survival system turns against you, watch this next video. Once you see it, your mental patterns will finally make sense. And if you want help applying this in your own life, you can work directly with me. The link is in the description below. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.